Support for the Bulletproof for BJJ YouTube channel is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with their exclusive offer for you. Get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code GRIZZLY at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 8 million balls.
That's a lot of balls.
Now, talk to me about your experience with Manscaped.
I used this yesterday and I just did my arm in like barely any minutes. And it's so quick. It was actually very impressive. And so we have a comparison. Note this arm looking quite smooth and lean.
Vascular.
And then look at this arm, hairy bear.
Grizzly.
Grizzly ass.
Neanderthal-esque. Here's my story with Manscaped. My partner bought me an older model a couple of years ago, and I've been using it ever since. I think I've charged it once in that time because the battery just doesn't die.
Oh, wow.
And it's very similar to this, though. This is obviously like upgraded.
This is the 4.0.
The 4th generation of trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents, all right? Thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. You thought that was good, but you want to take a grooming game even further to the next level. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer.
The thing that I also am impressed with this pack is the care range. Like, we've got the ball toner.
We've got the ball deodorant.
The crop reviver.
Crop preserver.
Mate, it actually smells amazing. I don't mess with colognes, but like...
Smells fresh.
So, man, I'm just putting this on.
JT's face is going to smell like Joey's balls.
Well, the roles are reversed, because usually that's how it goes in jiu-jitsu.
Hey, I fight well from north-south. Fam, get 20% off and free shipping when you use the code GRIZZLY, which you can see here on the screen, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code GRIZZLY. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof for BJJ podcast. I am JT.
And I am Joey.
Oh, and today we will be talking about Isometrics, the secret to massive strength gains. This is definitely the most undervalued mode of strength training. We use it in the Bulletproof for BJJ program through various different types of exercises. But essentially, isometrics, guys, is when you are pushing against a fixed position which you can't change. So you're forming muscle contractions, and you will think about this in terms of squeezing. Like if you're going for a guillotine, you're there as much as you're trying to close that gap between your forearm and your shoulder. It's an isometric contraction. You can't get it any tighter. You're squeezing. You're basically waiting for your partner to go unconscious. But you would have experienced yourself, Joe, in jiu-jitsu, moments of like really fighting as hard as you can against something that won't move.
Yeah, it's to give a bit more clarity for the folks, I suppose it's a mode of strength training, as is like if you think about say doing an overhead press, you're moving, right? So you're pressing to a straight arm, then you're coming back down. Whereas an isometric contraction, we're talking about holding the position under load. Yeah, so using the press as an example, it might be getting a real heavy kettlebell, getting it to like halfway sort of point and just holding it there for 10, 20, 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu is full of it.
Yes.
When you're applying submissions and you're holding them, particularly chokes, right?
Yes.
Aren't they? Like I had a head arm choke on Kieran last night. Couldn't finish him with it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, fuck, I adjusted. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, he's still not tapping. I'm like, I'll give it 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And I counted 15 seconds because I know if I go for longer, I'm going to burn my arms out.
Of course, yeah.
So that is 100% isometric contraction. Even holding your guard, you've got someone tied up in your X guard and you kind of, maybe you've elevated them or something, or your De La Riva or whatever, your legs are in an isometric contraction.
Yeah, and it's the fact that you can't move further, guys. And that's the thing. If we thought, now you might have a training partner who's like a brick wall where you go to sweep them or they go to sweep you and you're pushing back against them and you can't move them. Like, I can't move this. And you're working as hard as you can against that thing. Maybe you're under side control. You're trying to bridge out. You're like, I can't move them, but you're working as hard as you can. this is actually a super valuable way for you to get stronger in those positions, because you get the recruitment, like your muscles are going super hard to recruit more muscle fibers, trying to actually move this immovable force, and you can get stronger there, but it is very exhausting, as you know.
Yeah, to simplify the strength side of it, you see one of the sport disciplines where you see a lot of isometrics is gymnastics, isn't it?
Yes.
Huge amount.
Yeah, definitely.
Because those positions they're holding, like you look at the rings athletes.
Sure.
Or, yeah, it's really just the rings. They're holding those positions. You know, most of the other events, they're kind of moving through things. It's more dynamic. Yeah. But to your point, it really is often under-considered in the strength training, like the conventional realm. And I think that's because most of the gym culture tends to follow bodybuilding.
Yeah.
It's like, it's always moving.
Yeah.
Whereas what we're saying is, well, if you can bring a little bit of this isometric work into your strength training, as well as the dynamic stuff, you're going to get super duper strong.
Definitely. And so a really good example of this is like Westside Barbell. Louis Simmons and the guys, some of the strongest guys in the world, if they have a weak point in their deadlift or their squat, even though they'll do a variety of accessory work, they will do isometric training. So they'll literally push the bar up, whether they're doing a bench press or a squat, against pins. They can't actually move any further, but they will work really intensely hard for anywhere from 5 up to 10 seconds to get as many muscle fibers that they haven't used yet to get them stronger at that point. And then once they've done a series of that, like a couple of weeks of that, they go back to the original lift, and then they're blasting through that, what they refer to as a sticking point. And this it comes in strongman as well. There's one of the strongest guys in Australia, a guy called Ran Daish. He's from down in Albury, and he does a lot of isometric contractions for like back extension because he lifts big stones, and there's lots of big lifts in strongman, and he will do up to 30 seconds using a strap. And he's like on a back extension machine. He comes up to almost full extension, holding the strap, and he'll just contract his glutes and hamstrings and lower back as hard as he can for almost 30 seconds. Wow. It's exhausting. I sometimes look at it, I'm like, like that's so hard. If you've never done it before, it's hard for you to imagine, but to relate this back to jiu-jitsu.
It's a hard style of training.
It is very difficult. But that said, even though you might only do, say, 2 or 3 sets of this, it's phenomenal for you to be able to generate force and force production to get stronger. But we do some movements within Bulletproof that could be considered isometric.
Absolutely.
So we were talking about this before, and I was saying, chest to bar hold is, and for those of you out there, mate, it is tough.
Mate, since we launched standards and I've been running it on my phone, using it to test it and understand it and make sure it's as we want it to be, I've been spending time on all of those earlier progressions. Yeah. And I was talking to Michael Pillen, yes, one of our guys, purple belt. Shout out to Pillen.
Shout out.
This morning, where he's pretty advanced in his pulling strength as well. Guy can do weighted pull-ups and all that stuff. So can I. But I decided, no, I'm going to actually go back and start at the beginning with standards.
Spend some time.
So that I can just revisit some of these earlier progressions. And I last week I did 5 sets of 10-second chest to bar. Today I did 4 sets of 15. Ooh. And I can do it. I could do it any day of the week. But it's fucking hard.
You feel it.
Mate, you're there. And if you're really trying to pull that bar
as you can.
Yeah, and as low down the torso as possible, like you're trying to get your nipples, your rib cage to the bar, like what's happening at the elbow? You come down, you're like, man, my elbow tendons, the bicep, like there's so much good stuff in there. And I think to give folks a bit of clarity, like, and this makes it even more relevant to jiu-jitsu, in gymnastics, isometrics are used in large part because they develop very strong connective tissue strength. Yeah. So tendons and ligaments. And if we look at, say, the bodybuilding approach to lifting weights, it's all about the muscle.
Yep.
If you look at gymnastics, it's all about the tendons because the muscle's kind of easy to build. The tendons take longer.
They take forever.
And that's going to be the weak point when you're working at this extremely high intensity kind of movements.
Especially if you try and do an iron cross.
Yeah, right? Like it's think about what's happening through your joints. And so this connective tissue strength becomes the real benefit of it. And guys know what we're trying to do in jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah,
we're trying to tear each
snap
other's
those connective tissues, right.
So the more you can nourish them, the better.
Yeah.
You know who's actually a huge proponent of isometrics for jiu-jitsu? Steve Maxwell.
Oh, there you go.
And I remember attending one of his seminars many years ago. And for the young folks out there, if you haven't heard of Steve Maxwell, Google him. He really is I look up to him in terms of a guy who I think is in his 70s, still traveling the world, still training, still in amazing shape. And he swears by isometrics because they are very, your chances of injuring yourself are extremely low.
Very low.
And he does it all with body weight. Right. And I remember at the end of one of his seminars, he ran a guy through a quick little isometric circuit just to show him the effectiveness of it. And this guy was sweating bullets. And it's, and there's one thing, right? Like you were saying, to press the barbell up into the pins, to just do it and it's no big deal, or to fucking do it as hard as you can for 10 seconds. Oh. It's extremely taxing.
Even 3 seconds at as hard as you can is incredibly difficult. To sustain that maximum effort against a force, against a position which you won't move, it is actually exhausting. And that is the part of jiu-jitsu which I think we don't think about, is we are doing these isometric contractions, whether we're squeezing someone's neck, trying to hyperextend, like me trying to knee bar Joey with his meaty hamstrings. I get that hip extension and I'm crushing one of my testicles, but it's worth it, but I never get it. You're doing them all the time and you're like, why is rolling so hard? Because it features all these other movements, dynamic, explosive, flexibility, but then also isometric contractions.
Yeah.
And so
where that position might be where there's not much happening.
Yeah.
Mate, there's big squeeze, big isometric contraction, and then it's into the next thing.
The next thing, and the next thing. And so this is something that we shouldn't ignore, guys, and we definitely do not ignore it. We include it in different parts, and it comes through also in mobility in a way, because I was talking about Butcher's block, because I was looking at Ray Lean training this morning and her holding that position. Like, yes, it is like a stretch, it is a mobility movement, but there's a lot of work going on in terms of contracting and holding the position at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's tough, and that's meant to be the I wouldn't say it's meant to be the easy stuff.
It's one of the easier progressions.
Easier things, right?
Yeah, it's pretty tough. But yeah, I mean, the Butcher's block, a lot of our skin the cat work for shoulder mobility, toes to bar.
Front split?
Yeah, front split, those long lunge holds and whatnot. The handstand,
which
we use for overhead position. Like a handstand is an isometric drill for shoulders. Yeah. But then if you look at some of our beginner variations of Cossacks and whatnot, it's like get into the position and hold it.
Yep.
It's hollow body.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
We use it for trunk strength. It's it really should be in any good strength program, in my opinion.
Definitely. And if you guys out there, if you're not too sure, and this is the first time you're hearing this, don't worry too much. If you're following the program, it is sprinkled through there because we do believe in it and it's very helpful. If you want to know more, there's lots of information out there and how you can get it in your life. But feel free to always, you're hearing this, you're not sure about it, feel free to message us and ask us more so we can give you more of the good stuff to help you.
Yeah, get us at bulletprooffbjj.com and you can sign for the program there, start a free trial, it's free for a week. Or just get us through the Instagram at bulletprooffbjj and you'll speak with myself and we'd love to hear questions.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, JT. Cheers, guys.
Peace.